Welcome back. So, in the previous session we talked about the book by Friedman and Henneman. They have proposed 10 commandments of go to market strategies. There are many books, but they are not very formal books. I could not find a lot, but there are many blogs, there are many writings, and it is very rich, but as a textbook kind of source is rare. So, we move forward. Now, these are channel for go to market. There may be various channels. It is there in the book, but it's almost like sacrosanct. So, everybody whosoever are writing, they are very clear. It's very practical. There are multiple channels to go to market. Whichever is suitable, we have to decide, and depending on customer preferences or their taste, their convenience, we have to decide whichever channel will lead us to maximize connectivity and then send the product right to the customer. Now, there is always a trade-off between market coverage and control. This is important because when we decide to take help of distributors, or maybe we partner with some third party other companies, then it is easy for us to distribute, because the third party who are kind of who already have distribution network and maybe retail network, then it is easy for us to reach out to a larger audience. But then eventually when the product will be given to the customer, will be delivered to the customer, the quality that is necessary for delivery as well as for maintenance cannot be ensured by us. It will be ensured only by the third party. Friedman gave a wonderful example that Starbucks coffee is so very wonderful, it is doubtlessly good, but then Starbucks had a collaboration with an airline. So, when he was sitting in the airline, the coffee, Starbucks coffee was given to him, served to him, but then he found it was tasting awfully bad, means it was almost like burnt or something. So, even though Starbucks makes so wonderful coffee, but they do not have so much control to the air hostess, because they are busy, they have other priorities. So, you lose control by extending your reach through third parties. One should be careful about it. Friedman says there is only one way to start with customer for real, that is systematic, rigorous and careful analysis of what the customers in your various markets, what do they buy, how do they buy, why do they buy, and then what will motivate them to buy more of it. That is important. So, that analysis is very important. Here is a negative example of go to market, meaning a wrong go to market strategy. That is why I put it in red. It is kind of readability is poor, visibility is poor, but it is a wonderful example. I mentioned that in some of the slide. I think when we discussed about why do company fail, why does companies fail, we talked about Iridium. Iridium LLC is a company. They researched for 9 long years, and then they launched 66 low orbit satellite to offer wireless telecom facilities. They are expected that people should be able to communicate from anywhere to anywhere, literally. So, they spent $6 billion to launch those satellites, and so much of other expenses, research and development, etc., etc. So, eventually after launch of the product, only they realize that customers do not want it. The very customers for whom they developed this, they spent $6 billion, which is something like more than 50,000 crore rupees, and the customers for whom they built it, they are not interested in that. There are many reasons. They realized that customers cannot afford it, because the handset was costing more, talk time per minute was enormously high, signal was not so good, etc., etc. We discussed that. So, these people are highly smart, because people who have 50,000 crore rupee access to 50,000 crore rupees of investment, and then they can launch 66 satellite in 1998, when things were not as as accessible as it is today. There was no Elon Musk in those days. So, they had to depend on government launching facilities, etc., etc. By April 99, they have filed for bankruptcy protection. It is seen as one of the spectacular business failure in recent memory, entirely driven by lack of understanding of the customers and not following the minimum viable product or lean process. So, what they could have done is like this: they should have actually invited few hundred wireless phone users like us, whosoever uses wireless telephone, early in the design stage itself. Ask these kind of question: do you need a global cell phone at all? Do they actually need? The real pain, they should have actually identified the pain. They defined the pain. They did not talk to customers to define the pain. How much more would you be willing to pay? So, the price discovery or the affordability should be understood before just launching something at an exorbitantly high cost without any understanding whether customers will be able to afford. Would you put up with a large size handset because the handset was large, and whether they will be liking it or not, they did not realize. So, convenience was just ignored. Then there were other services, they could bundle up all those services and offer both satellite based communication as well as other wireless communication, which were kind of powerful indoor elsewhere. So, this is a clear example of a wrong go to market strategy, and we can learn so much from this example, not only how not to do, but also how actually to do. And here are some words of wisdom, and then I will move to some examples and two more examples. Actually, these can be learned by examples. These actually there may not be formulas. So, we let us discuss about some examples. It will be very clear as to what we should do, how we should do, what we should not do. So, first point, and I have seen many people are kind of overemphasizing this point, that focus is the most important part in go to market strategies. Many make too many things for too many people. Like suppose you have 5 products and you are launching 5 products simultaneously, is absolutely no for go to market strategy. One should focus only on one, target a small audience so that you can understand their pain, you can understand their convenience and their affordability and their idiosyncrasies and what not. You can understand everything, and then you make a product successful, then you kind of extend, that is feasible, but then initially you should focus is the mantra. Be clear about value proposition. The more I say, the less it is, because it can never be overemphasized. Website landing page should be as simple as possible. Do not clutter, do not confuse your customer, and it should be logical. Suppose for registration or sign up, there should be just 2-3 text boxes, or maybe just offer them say register with Facebook, should be a one click sign in. Worry about their email address, their telephone numbers later, but initially you just get them hooked on, and then continuously you can interact and engage. Segmentation and buyers persona. So, you should understand the persona of the buyer and their convenience, their aspiration, etc., etc. Then focus on advertising. What advertisement media you choose, you should choose very intelligently. Suppose you are targeting a small segment, a very niche segment, advertising in national TV does not make any sense, because at one point of time, at any point of time when the advertisement is being telecast, is broadcasted, maybe none of your customer will be in front of the TV. So, every penny goes down the drain. Growth hacking is a slightly new concept. There are experts They can be your engineers, they can be your marketers, they can be your creative person who can actually formulate strategies to acquire and retain customers. They are called growth hackers. They have unique creativity in this domain. So, engage them, use them, outbound and nurturing. Once the product goes out, and then you keep on engaging with the customer, so that they are happy and they come back again. Channel partners actually can give you huge connectivity, huge sign in. Thousands people will be they can, because they are in the field and they are connected, they are already connected with a huge number of they have existing customers. So, they can easily communicate your message to them. So, however, value proposition is central. We should never defocus from them. Okay, about focus. Your product service helps you to focus on your customer, meaning if you have one product, that can help you to reach to the customer. If you have 3 products, you kind of dilute that part. Then this book, Crossing the Chasm. If you are thinking about one product, you understand the customer better, you understand the product better, you can refine that better, you can customize it to suit the customer, and then when you move to the early majority, then crossing this chasm will be easier compared to if you have too many products, and then maybe for all of them you won't be able to really cross it. You may be mediocre in a number of industries, but everybody has some strength. So, identify your strength and do that, and you will be successful. You have got to be laser focused. Focus is again repeated. Must know which particular people will use your product, and then start engaging with them. Look for well funded buyers. Suppose it is a kind of a pricey product, say 50,000 rupees cell phone. So, obviously means connecting with people who can afford 50,000 rupees phone should be connected, or maybe you look for some funding agencies like bank or some non-bank finance companies to fund. Then you can enlarge your market segment. Market size is important. How much pain exists now, and degree of pain to switch, whatever they are using, degree of pain to switch to your product, and how additional pain alleviation you are offering. Competitive landscape, you understand the marketplace. Explore if we can win this vertical, what other verticals we can immediately move into. Keep that information ready, so that if we win this war, again you open another front, so that you can increase your turnover and profit. If you are focused, crossing the chasm is easy. Lower cost of customer acquisition, because you know the customer, the product is more your product is better market fit, because you know the customer and you have refined them. Lower cost to serve, because market is niche. Faster internal adaption to customer needs, because it is single product or say less number of products, then your team will be better educated about customer behavior, product features. So, communication will be better. There is a saying, if you chase 2 rabbits, both will escape. Lack of focus kills startups. Many people said this. It should be kills startup. Focus on one vertical and create value proposition for that channel. Then you can actually explore sub segment and then refocus, meaning that you can make better focus if you can identify many sub segments under that. Because I got some good sentence, so I thought let us put it here. So, what is the one thing your business stands for at the intersection of what it does and what your customer wants to do should define your value proposition. Build, publish and A/B test, I discussed in the previous lecture, and then develop your A/B test on the landing page without much of background IT should be targeted. Another very important component of go to market strategy is business business model is one thing, pricing model, and pricing is very tricky. You price something too much, there will be no customer. Price something too low, again customer perception may be that it's cheap product, and if you lose a customer once, or if you give a wrong impression to a customer once, it's very difficult to change that. So, you should be very careful as to what should be the price. You manufacture something for 100, your perception is 20% profit, should you make it 120, should the price be 120? Suppose suppose the market, there are products at 100 rupees and there are products for 500 rupees. How to decide? So, it should be based on your target audience, what niche you are targeting. Suppose you are targeting at the high end market, so you should price something like 500 or maybe 500 plus to give the market an indication. Particularly this rich people can afford more, they don't care so much about price, but they try to understand quality with price sometimes, but then it's a huge subject. Pricing is a huge subject, so pricing should be done very intelligently. So, positioning, like say your customer is high end, so if you price it low, then high end people will not even look at it. So, that should be, even if you think that I will sell at a low price, so that customer laps it up, but then it may give a wrong signal. So, eventually it may not be a success. These are some of the bookish pricing strategies, some standard strategy. Cost plus, meaning that if your cost of production is 100, you make it 120, you make the price 120. So, it is cost plus pricing without any reference to market or affordability or competition. Competitive pricing, so you see what the competitors are pricing without any reference to your cost of production, you try to price there and start penetrating, get acceptance to the market, then you think of pricing higher or lower, whatever. Value based pricing, you try to understand what value the customer perceive in your product. Suppose you make a lot of noise about your product, and then customers remain in anticipation that when this product will be available, we want to buy, and there are a lot of good word of mouth going on. So, you can price it higher because the value perception is better. Skimming price, meaning that whatever is the manufacturing cost, you price at a high level, so that you can get more profit, and then gradually you decide. If you see that market is realizing that this product should be priced lower, gradually lower the price. So, you got the profit, and then maybe you switch to another product or change the features. Penetration pricing, meaning you price at a low price, even lower than your cost of production, and then get good market acceptance, meaning that you capture some good market share, and then only you increase the price, or maybe do some magic and then increase the price, like say change the aesthetic design or cover or some features, and then price higher, because you already have customers and they are happy with the performance of the product. Now, with little bit of aesthetics, they will be ready to pay higher price. You allow the market to discover, maybe these are not a standard method. You can allow the market to appreciate, like say you launch the product at 200 and then see whether market is accepting. If not, then okay, reduce the price to, say suddenly you say that because of Christmas or because of New Year, price has cut down to 150, and see whether people are accepting the product at 150, something like that. Price is key to making profit and also sales. So, customers are not always rational. Suppose you are selling ice cream at 100 rupees, you have another pack, say 100 gram of ice cream at 100 rupees. Now, you have another packet where you are selling 200 gram at 150 rupees. Now, they may not realize that this is low quality, this is high quality. They will think 200 gram for 150, 100 gram for 100. So, this makes better proposition, they may go for that, but you make a killing, something like that. They are not always rational. They go by emotion or their own mental calculation. You should be able to judge, you should try to understand customer behavior, their psychology, their particular segment, meaning your target segment. A lot of innovation actually can go into pricing. Another issue is how sensitive the demand on the price. meaning how elastic the price is on demand. It is called price elasticity of demand. If that is very sensitive, particularly in a very competitive market, you should not play with price. You should take the price, accept the price that market is determining. The competitors are actually already decided. Do things that make customer feel winners. There are a lot of things that can be thought to do that. Here is an example. d.Light design. It is a Stanford University startup. There are two students. One is Sam Goldman and Ned Tozun. I hope I pronounced it right. They were enrolled in a subject called extreme affordability. Actually, Sam worked in Peace Corps in Africa, and then he saw poor people and how they managed their evening time. He observed that there is no electrification and kerosene lamp is the only source, and it is very risky. At the same time, it is inadequate, and then it pollutes the environment. So, he at that point of time realized that is a huge pain that can be something can be done to alleviate. The advent of LED lamp that emits good amount of light, runs at low power, actually offers a product market fit. So, when he was enrolled in this subject and this extreme affordability, and there was a project. So, he thought why not doing something like that. So, as a project, these two students developed a whole package, that means that is a LED lamp with a solar charger and a battery, and it was available at a quite a low price, because price of everything has gone down. Battery price has gone down, panel price has gone down, LED lamp price has gone down. So, now it has become affordable. So, in May 2007, they actually won a huge prize money in a competition, $250,000 to be precise. So, they decided how to use the money. They decided to start a company, and where to start? They thought India is a market where there are a lot of poor people and they need this technology, whereas China is a place where you can manufacture it cheaper. So, they decided to put up manufacturing plant in China and sales office in New Delhi. They had two products, one is 250-10, 250 was high power, 10 was low power. It runs for 8 hours and gives quite good light. So, the 10 S10, this variety was good for domestic purpose, and because it gives 8 hours of light. So, from evening maybe 6 o'clock till say 12 o'clock also the light will remain adequate. But then the problem was that they are from US. So, they have to understand people not just in metro cities in India, but people in metro cities in India have some kind of similarity with people in maybe developed world, but then rural people are absolutely different. So, how they formulated their strategies to go to market about this is the story. So, they engaged in an extensive first-hand consumer observation. They went to the village, talked to villagers, they try to understand their pain, and they try to make them aware that if there is an alternative, what should be their reflection on that. So, gradually they collected data, what kind of means, how long they need the light, how much say what should be the brightness, etc., how many people have children, they are going to school. So, they need for education, they need for cooking. So, eventually they collected all the data, they analyzed, and then they could realize the total demand and how much of the demand they can serve, etc. They also realized that electrification in India is going at a very low pace at that time. That was in 2009. So, that time rural electrification was not so much. So, the latent demand was discovered, but then how to go about it, how to distribute this product. So, they engaged distributors and they recruited local people who are slightly educated, but then who can communicate with the local people. So, because the language also is a barrier, because there are so many local languages, and then local rural people will be kind of at ease with local people only, and then these agents can convince them suitably. So, they had two layers two layers to reach to the people, end people. They had distributors through whom they distributed these lamps, and then eventually from the distributor these agents used to carry this lamp. They had a commission system. So, they used to go to from door to door and then sell them, and it was a wonderful success. So, d.Light manufacture and market this solar light, and customer segment is very well defined. People living in rural India who do not have access to grid power, the pain point is clear, customer validation has been done with full satisfaction that the target people are ready to buy the product. So, the whole go to market strategy was so neat and clean, and they were so confident. Based on the affordability of the target audience, attractive pricing has been set, and that was profitable. Rural people could not afford, but then still the price was so low that it made wonderful product market fit, and nobody was complaining. And to add some features, they decided to provide warranty for 6 months, and they made spare parts available with the distributor, so that after 6 months if anything goes wrong, it can be repaired. The next example is about GE Healthcare. GE is a big company. Actually, Thomas Alva Edison was the founder, but it became a huge company with $200 billion turnover at some, I think even now also, but presently they are in loss, but they made huge profit, and huge their market capitalization is also, I think it's $200 billion or so today. But then at some point of time they thought they want to reach to the rural community in India. How to do that? So, they started marketing some of their products. They just reduced the price and they started marketing through their own sales force, but then success was not there. There was no success. Why? They did not understand the problem in the first place. Rural India and urban India are absolutely different. Their affordability is different. They do not have so much of concentration of health centers or hospitals. So, distance, geography is an issue, availability of electricity is an issue. There are so many other issues. So, GE realized that these products which they are selling at a very high price in metro, just cutting down the price and trying to sell in rural market is not the solution. So, they started their setback, and then they started exploring or brainstorming to understand the market. See, first thing they realized that there is no ecosystem in the local market, meaning that there will be nobody to repair and maintain this machine. Even before that, affordability was low. So, they should not actually price the machine, or they should thoroughly re-engineer their machine. What they decided is they will not reduce any of the features, any of the key features, but they will remove the frills, meaning which is not so much essential. So, that the machine price comes down to, they actually reduce the price to 1/10 of their ECG machine. And there was lack of technicians who could operate this machine. So, there was a need for a plug and play system, meaning they should bring the machine, plug it in the port, electric supply or whatever is the battery or something, and then machine should start. There should not be too many complex buttons and manuals to read how to operate, should not be there. And then affordability, as I said. Then there are various use cases, like say doctors would like to carry this ECG machine or other health systems to the villages, where they would organize some kind of a health camp, medical camp or something, where there will be hundreds of people coming and they will be treating them free of cost. So, they need a machine that can go up to the village and can run for maybe 8 hours on a battery, and the time taken for each customer should be less, so that they can one machine can cater to maybe hundreds of people, maybe 400-500 patients. Then as I said, absence of technical stuff, so it should not be complex, ease of use. Then it should be very sturdy, robust, so that there is no need for frequent maintenance. So eventually they came up with product, but then they did not have how to go to market, was a decision that was to be taken. So what they realized is that they cannot actually deploy marketing people in rural India and then market this product, because the revenue and the profit they are going to earn selling this low cost product will not justify the salary of the market force. So they have collaborated with an international development agency called East Meets West. Is a healthcare, it's not an NGO, but they mostly look after healthcare, like yoga, like many other things which are connected to health system. So they were connected with rural people. They were actually educating rural people about health issues. So they already had people in the field. So GE collaborated with them. Not only with them, the kind of product that GE was making, like say baby warmer, when a baby is born, the infant actually needs heating, particularly in rural India where mothers are malnourished, their babies are born also not so healthy. So they need some kind of heating mechanism for them to gain weight and then gain vitality. So they wanted to sell a baby warmer as well, but their warmer was costing something like 10 lakh rupees, whereas it's absolutely unaffordable. Whereas there is another company called Embrace. This is another Stanford company who went to Nepal to solve this infant mortality, and then they realized that what they needed was a low cost warmer. So they designed something which cost something like a couple of $100 or something, maybe something like 10,000 to 20,000 rupees. It's a very simple mechanism, and fatality actually went down. So Embrace was already connected to rural India. So GE actually collaborated with Embrace, with East Meets West, and then there are other government health centers. Almost like every couple of months, couple of villages will have one health center. So they collaborated with all of them in this model, and then it was easy for them to reach out to rural India. There were earlier experience of engaging people in the rural India to for go to market strategies. So previous experience by Hindustan Lever, by another company called Waterhealth. They educated rural people through school, through doctors, and they found that rural people are kind of amenable to whatever doctors suggest or school teachers suggest. So they eventually were successful. So this model actually worked. One side GE and the other three actors together, the whole effort was very successful. So these are all part of go to market strategies and some reference, and thank you.